In times of strife, we seek resolution outwardly because inwardly we're hoping we won't have to make the effort ourselves. We see the world as we are, not as it is. Conflict without often makes us feel good within because the conflict within is substantiated as we see conflict without. I was at the graveyard, not today, but yesterday. I was gathering some grave dirt from an unmarked grave, just a little bit, maybe like a handful, a palmful, on a grave that had just been covered up, that was unmarked. And as I stood up, I noticed a lot of little circles with spikes on them beside a sixth, probably, or an eighth of the graves in this graveyard, very old graveyard. These little circles with these spikes attached to them they weren't there in this number before. So I went over to one of the circles, said, World War I vet, died decades ago. Some Confederate war vets died a very, very long time ago. World War II vets, and a couple other wars here and there. But after looking at some of these circles, I stood up and I looked at the whole graveyard and I saw the amount of circles that there were on these little spikes. People in times of strife, because they're so caught up in it, usually view it as it being the end. Like, this is so devastating for me, for my family, for my understanding of things and the peace of the world, that surely everything is going to end because it's ending for me in a way, or because I'm afraid in this or that way. I mean, we can look all the way back to when Martin Luther first nailed that piece of paper to a church door. The Pope thought Martin Luther was Antichrist, and Martin Luther thought the Pope was the Antichrist. They thought it was the end times. All the way back to the Odyssey and the Iliad specifically. There was a lot of Achaeans, Greeks, who thought they were living in the end times, and this was one of the last major wars. So caught up in their struggle, their immediate surroundings, their strife. As we know, history continued for thousands of years after. I had earlier today a big kind of political rant that I had in my head, comparing Russia to Sparta and the United States to Athens and the Peloponnesian War, and how, Sparta always supported demagogues and tyrants, their word, not mine. And Athens always supported democracies. And there'd be factions in every city, even Athens, that Sparta would support, that were oligarchs that would have a strong leader, a tyrant. Tyrant has gained a new connotation in recent centuries, maybe in the last 1,000 years as well, maybe 2,000. And Athens would, support just the vote of the people. There's always a little bit of a, caveat to both of these things. I was going to go into that in Russia and America and things like that, but it doesn't feel like it's my time or even place to make that rant. Instead, I've decided to say that in times of strife, because our emotions are so caught up in what is happening, around us in a given year, in a given decade even. And sensationalism, that we imagine that human history itself is caught up in our own emotions, our own attachment to various views, to various opinions, and to various understandings of even history itself. But humanity, we keep moving forward. Or, at the very least, we keep existing. In Hollywood, you'll see a lot of, and in video games, Call of Duty, you'll see a lot of ways the world can end. Dystopian futures, where there's no governments and lawless bandits rule the vast wastes of what we used to call Earth. It hasn't come to that. A lot of people think that it will soon, but a lot of people throughout history have thought the same would happen very soon. But we are caught up in who we are and what we feel is more often than not singular. Either to our person, to what we believe, to the people we follow, or to a time. But things keep happening and evolving. If you feel like it's the end, just remember, in times of strife, people have always thought it's the end. It is not. What we can do as an individual, even as a people, is to transform ourselves. But more importantly, and more aptly on an individual level, what we can do is transform ourselves. The world, many people who have thought they can transform the world through their own force of will or their support of this or that, have seen history pass them more often than not. Transforming ourselves is our area of operation, our territory to conquer. We have no right to anything else. And we can help the world by transforming ourselves, becoming more than somebody's focused on base needs, base desires, or even attached to base understandings. That is the area where we have complete and utter agency. We can choose how we're affected by things. We can choose not to react, not to be reactionary, but to become more than our situation, our environment, even the world at a time. In times of strife, choose to transform yourself and become more. And observe. Always watch. Always learn. Look to history. Look to a situation and events as they unfold. But never assume that because we think or fear something terrible is going to happen, that is going to happen. The terror within is very rarely a reflection of terror to come. We must learn to be an individual who's unaffected and transform ourselves into a being who can move beyond themselves step by step. A lantern in the fog in a dark forest. Sometimes the candle goes out and we walk blindly through the forest trying to find another lantern, but there's always another lantern. And maybe we're far off the path. But we pick up this lantern, that's a new idea, that's a new step in our transformation. And we keep on moving forward. That is the way to traverse this world and to become yourself. In times of strife, take heart. Take strength. Remember remember to love, even while remaining strong. Thank you very much, and all of you, have a wonderful day.